I usually complain about the MMA media being shills and woke and all the rest of it, but today I have a different argument and a different point to make regarding these people, because Khamzat and Nate are going to fight at UFC 279. I'm excited for the fight. I'm a huge Nate Diaz fan, and I'm also a huge Khamzat fan, so it's going to be a really good fight. There's loads of talk about this being the last fight of Nate's career. What's he going to do afterwards? He's going to go fight Jake Paul. Is he going to go to another promotion? Loads of people talk about the fact that Dana, with the weird interactions that he's had with Nate, is a little bit pissed with him and he's feeding him to the wolves. And I see that every MMA media outlet on YouTube or on Twitter or on Instagram are all going with that narrative of Nate being fed to the wolves. And I don't like it. I don't like it whatsoever. I'm a little bit bewildered at how the MMA media reacted to Khamzat. We know that the majority of them are shills. We know that the majority of them, especially the ex-fighters, I don't know, there's only a handful of guys that I actually trust or that I would actually watch. The majority of them are despotic lunatics. Like Michael Bisping is another guy who I looked up to, admired and respected everything that he did in the game. Bought his book, bought his biography, read his book, used to watch his podcast, but really got a strange vibe off him, the way he treated people, the way he treated Lewis. Long story short, I don't think that these people are to be trusted, and they all kind of read off the same hymn sheet, because as I said, the narrative is Nate's been fed to the wolves, and people, like in the aftermath of the Gilbert Burns and Khamzat fight, which I rewatched this morning before I made this video, or just to retrospectively look at it and be like, okay, that was my opinion then, has it changed? No, it hasn't. I think that that fight could have went either way, and that's been honest with you. So when Khamzat went into that fight, he was this unbelievable badass who was mauling everyone, running through them. Gilbert Burns put a stop to that. And I know that the MMA media were going with the narrative, well, this is a huge step up for Khamzat, and Gilbert Burns is the top of the food chain. Okay, fair enough. I think Gilbert Burns is a brilliant fighter. I think his ground game, his jiu-jitsu, what he's achieved there is absolutely amazing. I think he's got a hell of a right hand, but the chin isn't great. Kamaru Usman, who I believe is the best, took him out very, very easy, relatively easy. So we're gauging Khamzat being this absolute Leonidas type of Spartan against Gilbert Burns. And as I said, a lot of people can watch that fight and say, that was extremely close. That could have went either way. So what did the MMA media do in the aftermath of that fight? Well, they just tried to promote their guy even more. The likes of Chael, the likes of Bisping, they all work for the UFC. I do watch them, I do respect them to a certain extent for what they've done in the game and what they're doing outside of the game in terms of the content creation. Fair play to them, I wish them all the best. But they're not exactly gonna like put a halt onto people like Khamzat or Paddy the Baddy or any of these guys. They're not really gonna say, hey guys, this mightn't be the pinnacle of the hype trend that we've been building up for 2 years that Dana has invested so much money in. And we see that Dana has invested into Khamzat, he's invested into the Sean O'Malley show, he's invested into Paddy the Baddy, and they're not gonna disparage these fighters whatsoever. So that's where we are in terms of the narrative and the actual truth. Everyone that's coming out saying Nate is gonna be fed to the wolves and Khamzat is going to run through him, and it'll be exactly what Dana wants, because he's pissed that Nate is leaving. He wants him to sign another contract, and he wants to devalue his stock as he leaves the UFC. That's basically it. If he goes to another promotion after being mauled by Khamzat, then it's going to be, well, he just got mauled in his last fight. If he goes to the Jake Paul boxing match, well, he just got knocked out by Khamzat. That's what they're all expecting, and I think across the board, very little people are giving Nate a chance. If we look at the actual diagnostics of the fight, yes, Nate is getting on in years, and yes, Khamzat is an absolute beast. But we've seen a chink in his armor against Gilbert Burns. You could possibly say that he lost that fight. And people with a good critical eye of the game, of MMA, would look at that fight and say, yeah, you're right. It could have went either way. You know, Khamzat was a little bit more aggressive in the first round, but after that, it was 50-50. It was on a knife's edge. Instead of altering the consciousness surrounding Khamzat going into this fight and being like, well, in his last fight, he looked pretty fallible. He looked like he could be hit. He looked like he could be rocked. And the gas tank wasn't there when it got to the third round because he had never been in deep waters like that. But that's not what we're getting. We're not getting an open and honest opinion. And why would you get that from the media? You wouldn't get that from the media. What do I think is going to happen in this fight? Because I'm excited for the fight. I hope that there's no pullouts. I hope that there's no nefarious play acting happening in the background regarding the end of Nate's contract in November. I hope everything just plays out and we get this fight. People are so disappointed. They're saying we're not getting the Conor McGregor trilogy. We're not getting the Masvidal fight. To be honest with you, I've got no interest watching Masvidal fight whatsoever. He's another part of the cog that I spoke of in terms of the UFC machine. They've invested so much money into that hype train off the back of knockouts against Darren Till and off the back of knockouts against Ben Askren. My 10-year-old would knock him out. So the hype train of Masvidal, absolutely zero interest. But again, UFC have invested so much money into him and given him a huge contract. I think he's second in line after Conor in terms of monetary gain off of a contract. So they're going to keep promoting him and making him fight. No one's going to be interested because he's a whinger. So what do I think is going to happen if this fight actually goes ahead? I think that Khamzat's going to come out like an absolute bull and he's going to go straight at Nate Diaz and he's going to piece him up. He's going to try take him down. People talk about Nate Diaz's ground game as if it's like some antiquated attack that is just not useful in modern MMA. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, Gilbert Burns did a fantastic job of stuffing takedowns against Khamzat, and he realized after about 2 minutes that, okay, I'm not going to be able to take him down as easy. Let's go to the feet. Khamzat, of course, is going to get better after his performance. He's not going to come into this and do exactly the opposite of what his coaches told him to do, like he did in the last fight. He let the emotion take over and tried to knock him out. If he tries that with Nate, I don't know what's going to happen. Nate's got a chin of steel. He can last. He can hang in there 5 rounds, no problem. People overlook Nate. Who's he beaten in the last 5 fights? It's like, hold on a second. So the #1 contender, Leon Edwards, the great hype of MMA. He's absolutely brilliant on the feet. He's absolutely brilliant at wrestling. He did well against Nate Diaz, and I don't like the idea of Nate landing this lucky punch in the 5th round. I think that was something that Nate has done over and over again. I just watched the highlights 2 days ago of Nate beating Conor the first time, and he did the exact same combo. That leading right followed with the straight left, rocked Conor, sent him into a world of pain. Conor went for the takedown, got choked out. I saw him doing it against Anthony Pettis. That same 1-2 drove him onto the fence, followed him up, tied him up, dirty boxed and broke him up. So he did it again against Leon Edwards and nearly took his head off. Leon did the chicken dance for 10 minutes, didn't know where he was. But we're all supposed to just go, that's just lucky punches that he can get in there. I don't think so. I think that he's not getting the respect that he deserves. I think that this will be a battle of a fight if it goes ahead. I think it's going to be a 5-round war. I hate the narrative of Nate being fed to the wolves. I don't think that's it. And when you look at the MMA community on YouTube, Twitter and Instagram, you'll see they'll all sing off the same page. I'm not interested in that. This is the truth. The truth is that Khamzat is hittable. He's not a machine. He's a man. And I think that Nate will hit him. He will hurt him. And this is going to be a great fight. Do me a favor, if you liked anything, comment down below and hit subscribe. Cheers.